remember in high school, we had to do these exercises. One of them was really macabre about planning your own funeral and having to look at all the different things you had to do for that and the costs and whatnot. Another one was, planning your first house. And then we had to look at all the mortgage rates and accrued interest and all that jazz. But then, we also just had to kind of plan out what we wanted to do in our life. I had no idea then. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. That wasn't the case. But I thought to myself even back then, gosh, now more than 20 years ago, if I just made $100,000 a year, I would be set. I'd be set for life. That'd be great. That was way back then, right? I mean, that was like pro sports level salaries. But now it seems to be commonplace among public sector employees in the state of Illinois. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. And let's talk now with Adam Andrzejewski. He is with openthebooks.com, website that delves into public spending all across the country. And of course, looking at Illinois. Adam, we've got some rather alarming numbers as to how many public sector employees in the state of Illinois are making more than $100,000. What did you guys find out?
Well, Greg, as you know, we believe transparency revolutionizes United States public policy and politics. So we understand why Illinois is in trouble right now. We have 133,000 public employees or retirees with $100,000 plus paychecks every single year, costing taxpayers in this state $17 billion. The new minimum wage for government work, Greg, is now $100,000 plus.
So when we talk about how much this is obviously direct pay, and where are these jobs at? Is it also including benefits? Is it just state level, or is it also local and school level? Where are you finding these $100,000 a year jobs plus? And some of them are even three times that. But is it just the pay, or is it also the benefits?
Right. It's just the cash compensation. So you got to tack on 33%, about a third extra for the pension benefit and the health care. So it even gets worse. So you're not really talking, $17 billion. You're talking 22 or 23 billion for the most highly compensated 133,000 public employees or retirees. I want to break it down because, K through 12 education is a hot button issue all across the state, and rightfully so. We got to debate the proper levels of pay, perks, and pension benefits for our teachers, our administrators. And Greg, as you know, you cannot educate children in the classroom if you're funding an expensive education administration and bureaucracy. There's just not enough taxpayer money for both, as the Illinois high property taxes and plummeting test scores clearly illustrate. But today, we have 43,000 educators or retired educators on $100,000 plus pension in this state. 43,000 in the Illinois public schools. Yet only a third of our students are reading at grade level.
Adam Andrzejewski joins us. You can find this and more stories at openthebooks.com, where they delve into public spending and how taxpayers are on the hook for a lot of this type of stuff all across the country. So, Adam, give us a bit of an overview here of the types of jobs where people are making more than $100,000. You mentioned, administrators, and the list you have at openthebooks.com shows, for instance, a administrator at Homewood Flossmoor Community High School making $434,000 a year as an administrator. I can't imagine what the pension's going to be like. But where else are we finding these types of jobs, and what kind of jobs are they?
Yeah, the superintendent for Ed Madsfield in Homewood Flossmoor makes $434,000. He's the most highly compensated K through 12 educator in the state. But you got 18 of them making cash compensation of over $334,000. Right there in Springfield District 186, you've got the superintendent making about $224,000. But the next two most highly compensated District 186 folks are retired. They're the prior superintendents who are out on pensions of about $200,000 apiece. Okay, so you asked about unique positions. We got to go right to Chicago. I mean, we got about 375 bus drivers in the city that make between $100,000 and $224,000 a year. You can fix streetlights in the city for $192,000 a year. I mean, this is just incredible. You could be a sign painter in the city, employed by the city of Chicago for up to $145,000 a year. You could be a boss at the city auto pound and clean off $125,000 a year, and they'll still lose your car in the auto pound.
Adam, what can people find at your website that can help kind of break this down, where they might have these high salaries in their backyards?
It's right on our homepage of openthebooks.com. We've got a great interactive map. We took the entire database of 133,000 highly compensated Illinois public employees. Because, Amendment 1's on the ballot. They want to put higher pay and union negotiating power and limiting lawmakers as to scaling back the pay, pension, and perquisites of public employees in Illinois. They want to put it in our Constitution. So this is very important. You come to openthebooks.com, you educate yourself. 4 years ago, there was 94,000 six-figure public employees in Illinois or retirees. Today, that number has soared to 133,000.
Adam, how do we correct this? Or is there any correction? I mean, everybody's paying more. Inflation's at historic levels. How do we correct this to not make it so burdensome on taxpayers who just want to make sure their kids are educated and their roads are taken care of and their lights stay on?
Yeah, the state legislature needs to slap a hard cap on municipal level pay all across the state. That cap can be $180,000 a year, and if you exceed that, then you lose your state aid from the state legislature. That would solve a lot of these problems immediately. So local units would still have local control. They could pay people more than $180,000, but it would stop the excess salary spiking, because you'd have to think hard about paying people that excessive compensation, because beyond that level, you'd lose the same amount of your state aid. That would be a great reform policy that the state legislature should enact.
Adam Andrzejewski with openthebooks.com. Go to the website. You can see the interactive map there. You can also see it's not just educators. It's not just some state employees. You've also got city managers that are bringing in a pretty penny there, including the top one at the city of Rolling Meadows, $341,287. So it's all across the spectrum here where you're seeing a lot of these high salaries at taxpayer expense. Adam, greatly appreciate your work as always, and if people are looking to help you out in your efforts, can they find a way to donate at openthebooks.com?
Yeah, absolutely. We're entirely privately funded. We take no government money. We did not take any COVID aid from the federal government on any of the programs that would have compromised our mission.
Adam Andrzejewski, openthebooks.com. Always a pleasure, and we'll talk again in the near future, all right?
Thank you, Greg.
It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. And coming back, we'll talk a little bit about the pension debt and what some gubernatorial candidates have to say they're going to do to fix it. So stay tuned. That's on the way with Springfield's Morning News on WMA. So we were just talking with Adam Andrzejewski from openthebooks.com about the 130,000 plus public employees in the state of Illinois that are making more than $100,000 either in annual salary or in their retiree benefits. And it's across the spectrum from state employees to city employees and beyond, including former Republican Governor Jim Edgar, who makes $186,000 in the University Retirement System pension and $90,000 from a General Assembly pension combined, all of that. So that's a pretty penny. And you've got others as well that are getting all of that. So what about pensions? How are we going to address what the state says is $151 billion unfunded pension liability? But others like ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, actually peg that number at more than $500 billion. Senator Darren Bailey, Republican, challenging Governor J.B. Pritzker. He says he's going to find waste in the budget and use that to pay down some of that pension debt to get control of it.
We'll find the fat in the budget, and we'll begin to apply that to get this pension situation under control. But first and foremost, I will be sitting at the table with pensioners.
He says Governor Pritzker's not doing anything about it. Pritzker says he has increased pension funding and is working to secure those pension dollars that are promised. But the Libertarian candidate, Scott Schluter, he says that we need to get all new hires into a 401k style plan.
I mean, the private sector went away from pension plans in the 80s and 90s because they saw that it was not a great plan. It didn't work. And I think that the public sector needs to follow that example.
He's looking to do some buyout programs for pensioners that are already in the system and even Tier 2 pensioners. But any new hires, he says, his plan would put them in 401k style plans. So a lot of things to consider there as we head to the polls in just a handful of days. It is Springfield's Morning News now coming up on 7 o'clock. I'm Greg.